Damn, this was a really good movie. As I was buying my ticket for this picture, I saw on one of the cinema screens that this was a PG-13 film. And a bit of me was like, oh no, here we go again. Not because of the previous Hunger Games films, but just because of some of the films I've been watching recently in the theaters. I'm looking at you, Five Nights at Freddy's. And I have to give it to them, like give them credit. Francis Lawrence and everyone behind this film, they really went balls to the wall to push this PG-13 rating to the absolute limit. One standout scene was one that involved like a drink in the beginning. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen the film or when you go see the film. And since I'm on the topic of brutality of this film, I might just start by talking about the Hunger Games in it. Literally what this film is about. I was actually expecting this to be the first Hunger Games, but it was actually the 10th. But technically, this was like the first Hunger Games, really.
That was like, how I explain it now. It was the first one in the sense of the way they commercialized it and they like try to push it for like a more open audience and make it more entertaining for the people of Panm.
Would have loved to see like some scenes with like just the regular working people like cheering them on or like just, you know, watching the game on like TV or something rather than what we got, but a bit disappointed we didn't get any of that. But it's good to jump to a character involved in the Hunger Games, Viola Davis. This is fantastic. Love the scenes with her in it. Supposed to be like this menacing mad scientist, but I guess she wasn't just menacing enough. There are a couple of scenes that involved her that gave you like this shock moment in the film, but overall I just felt like her character was a bit cartoonish. But see, she was good in it. Viola Davis is a really good actress, and I liked most of the scenes she was in. It was just a couple that just didn't fit the narrative.
She was also the game master in this, a role that was played by Philip Seymour Hoffman and that other guy in the first film that had the weird beard.
Also, Snow, on the topic of characters, Snow is also really good in this. The guy that plays him, Tom Blythe, he was really good in this. I'm not sure if these things I'm about to talk about were like in the trailers or promotions or whatnot, but he just, to like put it in a sense of not giving too much away, he was just not the Snow we saw in the other Hunger Games film. Well, Captain Obvious here, he's like 60 to 50 years younger, but it just, the way they set out his character in the film, I really, really liked it. Like for a prequel, I was expecting it to just like
miss the approach and dive in on his character.
The fact that like for most of the film, they made us root for him in the capital was just really good. Also helping that, as I mentioned, Tom Blythe was really good as this younger Snow. And at the end, you just see like how the film is just building. To be fair, it was just a bit rushed towards the end, which I'll get to. But like, you just see how the film's like building this character to be like the evil Snow that we all know. But on the topic of Panm now, most of this film takes place in the capital rather than in a district or something. Like the other films took place in, like, so we see more of Panm, which looks oddly familiar. But even the Hunger Games was played in the capital, I think, because they didn't really travel a lot, at least from what we saw. So I would suspect it was played in the capital. But yeah, overall, it was just strangely new to see more of the capital. We only really saw the capital in like the fourth film. How many times have I just said capital right now? But one thing I wish we did see more of was the current president of Panm, though, rather than just like little glimpses. I think we only got to see like really one scene with him. But yeah, overall, the film is broken into parts, like part 1, part 2, like all of that. And from the start up to a certain point, which I will talk about later, as I mentioned, this film, in my opinion, was really good. So it paced really well in the first 2 parts, making me completely invested in the world. There were a couple of scenes that just like invoked shock, and it was fine because like it was actually like adding something to the story, like adding how unsettling the world of Panm was, and having like these scenes that something would just happen out of nothing and they just brush it off and be like, we're just still going to continue no matter what. Like, it's something that you see in the, I want to say subsequent movies, but like these things came out before, but like in the subsequent movies in the timeline. But I would say like some of the supporting characters, like Snow's friends, were really forgettable. There were these two that looked really similar and I mixed for one in another. And here comes to my problems with the film, because although I really like most of what the film is trying to do, I just have a couple of problems. But I'm just going to narrow it down to 3 things I was not a fan of. First big problem I have with this film was Rachel Zegler. Like, no hate on her or anything. Closing off all my bias towards her. At the end of the day, we do not know each other, so what's my own business? Well, bro, why did they try to make her Katniss without her being Katniss? Like, her character just felt like a knockoff of you know, Everdeen. Wish they took like her character a bit differently, but do not get me wrong, there were definitely some moments with her that I liked a lot. I think she was alright in the film, like as an actress. The relationship she gets with her mentor, I really like that at the start. But wish towards the end it turned into something else rather than
where they took it to. I just wish they tried to make her own character rather than basing it on a well-loved character. But maybe the Songbird book was different.
I'm just gonna stop talking about this because I don't really want to spoil anything. And most of the other things I didn't like about her character, it's a bit of spoilers.
So I guess moving on.
Another problem I had, this was a really, really minor one, was just the plot armor in the film. It's really me nitpicking.
But I'm gonna talk about the two that really were just so funny to me and just grinded my gears.
The first being this one guy in the Hunger Games that gives like the tribute some sort of burial, carrying their bodies and everything. Why didn't they just kill him like the other evil tributes like that ganged up? Why did they just not kill this dude?
Like, he was just there for the taking. Even towards the end of the game when they did their plot, the capital did their plots, like he was still just staying there. So why didn't they just kill him? And even when he was doing the burial thing,
like he was in a super vulnerable position, just getting bodies and everything, and they went to go and chase somebody else. They killed that person that they were chasing, but like wouldn't they hear when he was like screaming and everything? Like, just honestly just didn't make any sense. And another bit towards the end, really me nitpicking here, but I was just like, what? I have obviously do not have any clip to show what I'm trying to talk about, and me explaining it would be so silly. But here's the best graphical illustration I can give. Snow tries to sneak. This is towards the end. Snow tries to sneak into some place, so he hides behind a truck. Then he leaves his cover and goes into another truck. And that truck he's going into is driving out of a gate. And the guards open the gate. Like, how don't the guards see him just standing there behind the other truck? The first truck I'm talking about. It was just such a weird scene. Unless it was like this smooth transition that I totally missed out. It was just super weird. And finally, my last problem with the film is, as I just mentioned twice previously, I would give this film accolades. Again, it's a 2.5 hour film, and from the start, it kept me locked up until they took this film away from the capital, and all that pace, intrigue, and build up just goes to mush in that third part. I low-key don't want to admit it, but I have to say this film could have been a bit better if it was a two-parter. Overall, I know I said it was a really good film from at the start of the video. There's a lot of aspects that I really enjoyed, and I would love to watch this film again. I think the first hour and 45 is really solid, and it just goes a bit, not really, it doesn't really go a bit, it actually just goes downhill from there. But I would still recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the franchise. It was a fun experience for me. I'm not really a massive fan of the Hunger Games. Just watched the movies for the first time 2 weeks ago or something. I have a video on that. But overall, as I just mentioned, I really enjoyed myself watching this film.
And I still stand with my opinion, thinking that it's good. At the end of the day, it's my opinion. And I would love to know your opinion. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.